In this video, we're going to be working on the RV.
Oh, that's an RV.
The Bluebird Wanderlodge. This is a 1988 Bluebird Wanderlodge FC35. And we're getting ready to go on a big trip up to Michigan. We're going to go to the Roadkill Nights, where they race on Woodward Avenue. And we're going to go to the Woodward Dream Cruise. And most importantly, we're going to visit with our daughter and son-in-law and our brand new grandson. We're going to have him with us in the campground, in the camper here. Most of the time we're going to be up there, so we're going to be getting to know him. But before we go, I got some work I got to do on this rig. The generator has a coolant leak, and I need to get in there and work on it and fix it, because I need that generator to be operational in case we get somewhere, you know, on the way there, on the way back, whatever, stranded somewhere, whatever, where we need to run the air conditioners and we don't have any place to plug the rig into. So I'm going to do some work on the generator, and I'm going to document the whole thing. It's going to be a multi-part video series on the repair work on this generator, because I got some big plans for it, some modifications and things I'm going to do to try to make it a little bit better. And I don't think I can fit it all into one video. It's going to be probably total 4 or 5 hours worth of content, and I don't really want to edit a whole lot of it out, because I got a feeling it's going to be something, the modification I'm going to do, I have a feeling is going to be something that a lot of other Wanderlodge owners are going to want to do as well. And I want to make sure that I document everything in case some of our you know, brothers and sisters out there in the Wanderlodge community want to tackle this same thing. So without further ado, let's jump into part one. Well, here we are back at the old Bluebird Wanderlodge, and I got an issue here that I got to take care of, and I decided to go ahead and do a video on it to try to help anybody else out who might have the same issues that I've got with this one. Nothing major. It's basically a coolant leak, and it's coming from the coolant hoses, the radiator hoses, all that stuff. So they're pretty old, and they're pretty dry rotted and deteriorated, and so they are leaking, and I've got to replace them. And unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff on these rigs that are, well, let's just say they're in real tight places, and they're kind of a pain to get to. And this generator is no exception. Now, this is a 1988 FC35 Silver Edition. From what I've been reading, the ones that are not the Silver Edition had a generator with a Perkins diesel and a slide-out tray. So this one does not have that. This has got the Onan 8 kilowatt diesel generator, this bad boy right here, and it does not have a slide out tray. It's kind of hard to tell for sure whether it slides out, because it's got these big bolts right here. It's got one there, one in the back, and two on the other side. And you've got these screws in this front faceplate here. So it's kind of deceiving. It does look like it possibly would slide out, but it does not. So whatever you do, do not take those 4 bolts out without something under it, because it'll fall out on top of you or on the floor or whatever. And there's a lot of stuff hooked up that has to be unhooked before taking it out. So I have been on the Wanderlodge owners group, and I spoke to a real nice guy, Bill Pape. I've talked to him numerous times since I've had this machine and been working on it. He's been a real wealth of knowledge as far as the mechanics and the inner workings of these rigs. And he's been a big help to me, and this time is no exception. He sent me some instructions on what to do, and I'm going to do my best to follow those instructions to the T and see if I can't get this generator out of here, because these coolant lines are all the way back there over the back and go through the firewall to hook to the radiator, and the coolant fan is back there and everything, which is another deal all in itself. The coolant fan is a big squirrel cage fan like what's on the HVAC system inside a house, and it's mounted on top of the radiator. The radiator is like a small car radiator, and that fan just blows through that down onto the ground and cools the generator. So, but those hoses, they've got those 1-inch flex hoses. They're a Gates hose with a green stripe on them. They're a universal hose, and they're 1-inch inner diameter with the wire in them and everything, and they're designed to handle the high heat that's built up inside this enclosure, which this does get pretty hot inside here, especially with this door shut. And there's even a small squirrel cage fan back in there on the bottom, which I'll show you once we get this apart. And that small squirrel cage fan kind of aims right at the generator itself, the actual electrical generator. And I'm assuming that's what that's for, is just to keep that somewhat cool. So, but with not a lot of airflow in there, and this thing's sealed up, it's pretty tight. So I don't really know. Maybe it's designed to pull heat out. I'm not really sure, but we're going to try to figure that out. But the first thing I got to do is start getting this thing apart, because I got to get this generator out just to get to the hoses to replace them. There are straps back there where they're strapped to the back of the generator, and there's plugs back there for the electrical and all that. So there's kind of a lot going on here. So I'm going to get in here and see if I can get this thing apart, and maybe help some other folks out at the same time. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do, just like if you're working on any other coolant system, is you're going to want to drain all the coolant out. So I'm going to get under here and I'm going to show you where to drain that out. All right, let's get under here on the old creeper. We're going to slide under here. Well, I have to come in from the other side because, well, maybe not. I'm a little portly fella. Move some stuff around. There's your radiator. You can see it's mounted horizontally. And there's the cooling fan, the big furnace fan that we was talking about, squirrel cage. Pretty interesting, huh? But here's your drain. A little petcock, just like on any other radiator. You just crack that open, drain it into a pan. And once that coolant's all drained out, then you can go in here and start taking your coolant tank out. Now, before I had decided to contact Bill Pape about this, I had already started taking a lot of this stuff apart. You know, this coolant tank was out. The battery was out. I already had the belt off of it, and the radiator hose that goes on the water pump, and also the one up here on the, what I guess is the thermostat housing. I already had the air cleaner out of it too. As you can see here, the clamp is loose, the bolt is loose, all this stuff is still loose. It's just in there like it was so that I can take it apart line by line and let everybody see how everything has to come apart. This bolt's loose, it's just finger tight, so I'm just going to pop that out of there real quick. Drop the nut on the floor. Just pop this up out of there, slide it out of the bracket. Now I went ahead and stuffed some rubber gloves down in this intake just to make sure I don't drop something down in there that I don't see and it gets up in the intake and destroys the engine. It's always a good practice. Now you can take this coolant tank out. In order to take this coolant tank out, you just got to loosen these wing nuts up. Just get them a little slack in them. And you flip this down. This is on a hinge right here. So this whole panel flips down. So you kind of hold up on this coolant tank, flip that down out of the way. I've already had this tank out, like I said, and I put it back in for the video. So I didn't put this clamp back on, but you got to take that clamp loose, pull that hose off of there. Then you're going to have a clamp up here on your coolant return hose. Take that loose and then pop that hose off. Then you got to unhook your overflow hose. Pull that one off and set that tank over to the side. Now the next thing we're going to do is take this battery out. And if you look at this, you notice that this positive cable is pretty close to this metal bracket here, which is grounded to the frame. I mean, it's not touching, and as long as it ain't touching, we're good. But here's the thing you want to keep in mind. When you take this off, you take the battery out, well, you would assume, as I did, that those cables are dead. But what you got to think about is this thing's got shore power and it's plugged in, and there's a battery charger running that's keeping all these batteries charged up while this thing's sitting in storage. So ask me how I know. Those cables are still hot whenever you unhook it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these battery cables off, and we're going to use this tester, and we're going to test them, see how much voltage is in them with them unhooked from the battery. I've already got them loose, right? All we got to do, pull that out here out of the way. Unhook that one, pull that out here out of the way. All right, so we're going to turn our DMM on to DC power. And we're going to test these. Unhooked from the battery. I don't know if you can see that there. Oh.
Jesus Christ. That's Jason Bourne.
See, I just touched those together. Not good. All right. That's what happens. Trying to do too many things at one time. So look, we got 12.6 volts on two cables that are unhooked. All right, so now I'm gonna go turn the shore power off. We're gonna come back and double check this and make sure there's no voltage on that. All right, so we just go in here, flip this to off. All right, got that one, this one. We're down at 0. They're dead, there's nothing. All right, now safely take this bracket loose, move that out of the way. Now, as you can probably imagine, this is not going to be a job that I can do in a day or 2 days. This is going to be a job that's going to take, probably a week of working in the evenings and weekends to do this right, because there's going to be some things we're going to find on here that we just can't leave alone. So I'm going to have to turn the shore power back on so that my batteries don't go dead while the thing's just sitting here. So I'm going to isolate this positive cable here so that I can do that and not worry about this, burning this rig and my barn and everything down. So here's what I'm going to do to isolate it. I'm just going to take this black electrical tape and just tape it up real good first. Just like that. And then, to be even extra safe, I'm going to stick this leather glove over it. And I'm going to tape it on there. Just secure it on there good so it don't just fall off. There we go. And now we ought to be in good shape to lay that back up in there. And still try to keep it away from anything metal if possible. If you look back in there, you can see that squirrel cage fan that blows on the generator. And it does look like the fins on it are angled toward me at the top, which would tell me that it does blow into the compartment and does not pull fumes and heat out of the compartment. So next thing we got to do is go ahead and take this 1-inch flex hose off. So I've already got the cable, got the clamp off of it. And it's a good idea to mark these hoses because you don't want to get them hooked up wrong. Now I'm done for the day, so I'm going to go ahead and turn my shore power back on, come back here and double check everything, and then we'll come back the next day and work on this thing some more. All right, we got a lot of stuff to do here, so what I'm going to do, it's going to take some time. I'm going to go ahead and get in here and put some PB Blaster on the bolts that hold the exhaust to the manifold back there because they're pretty rusty. I mean, it's probably about rustier than Tomater's gums. So we're going to get in there and put some of this stuff on them, juice them up real good, and see if we can't break them loose. Maybe we'll get lucky. I'm going to see if I can angle that in there. I'll get the other side. But you can't see nothing. I mean, yeah. Thanks, Bluebird. I'm not even sure I got any on there, but just in case I did, I'm gonna give it some time to do its thing. We're gonna go ahead and take this front faceplate off right across the front here. And that'll get this bracket that holds the tank for the coolant up there too. I'm gonna start over here on this side. All right, that's loose now. Here we go. I'll just slide that out of the way for right now. All right, that opened her up a little bit. Go ahead and take our overflow tube out of there. That is nasty. You about need a hazmat suit. That's dirtier than Betty White's jokes up in there. All that insulation is falling out. This used to be covered with that foam egg crate stuff, like what you would see in a studio for sound. So all that deteriorated over time and fell down in there. When I worked on the generator before, I got in here and vacuumed a lot of that off of the actual generator itself. But a lot of that's still down in there. I mean, that's it right there. It's a piece of it. It's just crumbles. So that is really fun when you're laying under this thing. And I mean, it just gets in your eye sockets. And I mean, not just like on your eyeballs, but all the way back to where your optic nerve is, because that's where you want it to be. So that makes it real fun. But hey, I'm not complaining. Well, maybe I am complaining, but I got a right to complain. I mean, that's ridiculous. Okay, the next thing we got to do is unhook the fuel lines. As you can see, I've already got these marked. This one's the fuel rail and this one's the fuel pump. So we're going to pop these off of here and then plug them with these JIC plugs that I bought yesterday at the parts store. I'm going to go ahead and get that ready because there's going to be some fuel gushing out. There we go. Set that up there. Go ahead and put this up there too. Maybe save a little bit of mess. All right, we got those snugged up, unhooked, out of the way. All right, now I'm gonna try to unhook the exhaust. I've had this soaking with some PB Blaster since yesterday. So we're gonna get up in here with our socket. See if we can feel around and find it. I know it's about right there. Yep, that's it. Let's see if we can encourage it to come loose. Get up in here a little bit. Well, you don't want to with the 1/4" drive ratchet. I'm going to try to force it. I'm going to get something a little bit bigger. All right, let's see if we can get this in here. I'm going to try to get this loose without breaking my little universal socket. It goes on there. We'll try to go the opposite way. Tighten a little bit first. Sometimes that'll, yeah, that moved a little bit. And we might be able to. Again, I can't see nothing. It's all by feel. Hopefully that movement that I felt wasn't the bolt twisting off, because that is possible. Oh, this is great. Let me get my mirror. See where that fell to. Can't see it. Gotta find my flashlight. It'll be right there somewhere. Where in the world did it go? All right, I was able to dig my socket out, but I'm gonna try this wrench. See if I can get a little bit better of a bite on it without dropping this wrench down in there. Man, what a pain it was to get that socket out. Oh, it actually moved a little bit. Ah, can't believe it. Ah, I don't think it's turning. I don't think it's stripped out or twisting off or anything. It feels like it's actually coming out. Let's see if I can put this up in there where you can see. There's just no room. Man, there's just no room to work. I don't know if you can see anything, because I can't see the screen myself. I guess that penetrating oil actually did something. It would be nice. Miss Nikki was down here earlier and I was showing her how much of a pain it was to work on this thing. She said, you know, she had a good suggestion. If we have time, she said, you know, you might just build a slide out tray for this. I'm sure other people have done it because of the same issue that I'm facing. But I could definitely do that. At the end, I'm at the point now where I can't get my wrench out. That's going to be even more fun because I can't see it. I'm just guessing. All right. Looks like I got one out. Let's see if we can get in here and get lucky with this one. Maybe we can break it loose too. I don't know. I'm trying not to scar up some knuckles any worse than they are. Man. That one's tighter. That one's definitely tighter. Oh, it's moving a little bit. Oh, Lordy. Oh. Oh, good grief. Let me put my gloves on. I'm gonna get in here and try to spray it with a little more PB Blaster. I got my, let me see. Can't see nothing. There it is. All right. Now, just maybe. Oh, good grief. I think this one's going to twist off on me. Go back the other way a little bit. Now that I've moved it a little bit, I think I'm gonna let that stuff go to town, work a little bit more until tomorrow. Hopefully I won't break that bolt off. But in the meantime, I'm gonna move on. I still gotta take the ground wire loose from underneath from the chassis. And I gotta unhook the radiator hoses. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna try my best to film that, but no guarantees. It's tight under there. Right up there is what I'm looking at disconnecting. Those two hoses right there. So we gotta try to figure out a way. In there where we can see them. Might work. Every time I squeeze up in here, I get a little bit nervous. Because I'm getting a spot that kind of feels like I get stuck for a minute, so it's kind of a little bit unnerving. That's the wrong size. I thought that was a 3/8. That might be a 5/16. Oh yeah, it's definitely 5/16. All right, there we go. Get that one loose. Let's get these side cutters up in here. Try to cut that zip tie. Seems like it's got a reducer from 1.5 to 1 on this. Everything under here is jagged too. You slip and cut your arm open. I might have that one loose. Let's see. Yeah, it's wiggling. Just hope I don't get a face full of antifreeze. It's way on there. Lordy. What a workout. Man, come on, Bluebird. Oh, good Lord. And I gotta go ahead and mark that one so that I don't get them mixed up when I put them back together. There we go. I got that marked closest, the closest rad port. Now, I'm going to try to take this clamp the rest of the way off too. Some rust coming out of there. Just definitely. Get some corrosion there. Really trying not to slip and cut my arm open. Alright. I think I got it loose. Well, I've got some antifreeze pouring out. Like there was a pan under here somewhere. There it is. It's back there at my feet. Hold on. I might be able to drag it with my heel. Oh, that wasn't as much as I was thinking it was going to be. I mean, I already drained the radiator, but it's just what was in the hoses still. Okay. All right, made a little bit of a mess, but not too bad. All right, radiator hoses are unhooked. Now I've got to unhook the ground strap. All right, let's see if I can unhook this here. I'm going to hold on to that. Just going to put that back in there, but not tighten it up. Just so I know where it's at. All right, well, I got one bolt out of the exhaust and I've got the other one soaking in penetrating oil, and I did get the ground strap off the back and both radiator hoses unhooked from the radiator. So I believe all I've got left to do now is to get that other bolt out of the exhaust, hopefully, fingers crossed, and then unplug all the electrical plugs from the back of the generator. And the jury's still out on that because it almost looks like there's enough slack to put a jack under here and let this generator down far enough to work on it. But I'm going to do a little bit more planning as far as that goes, and kind of measuring and looking and seeing if I do think that's possible. And if it is, I'm going to try it. But if I think there might be a chance that it's going to be stress on those plugs for the electrical, then I'll just go ahead and unhook them. I just don't want to mess with them unless I have to, because they are old and I'm just afraid of them being kind of brittle, and I don't want to have to replace anything extra that I don't, that I didn't originally want to replace. So, we'll replace what we have to, but, and maybe even some stuff we don't have to, just because of how difficult it is to work on this thing. But we're going to try to make this as simple as possible. Well, unfortunately, I'm not able to get that bolt out just with penetrating oil. It's just stuck in there too bad. So I'm going to have to try to heat this thing up with a torch and try to give it a little bit more encouragement to come out of there. Just hoping I can do this without burning anything down. So, Our Lady of Victory, pray for us. I'm going to do this with a mirror. Come on. I don't know what was on fire, but something was.
I think I've got it pretty much focused there where I'm not going to catch anything else on fire or overheat anything else, hopefully. I put this brazing tip on where I can actually aim it a little better, control it a little better. Man, doing this with a mirror is kind of tricky. I'm trying to heat the area where the threads are and not the head of the bolt so much. I'll heat the bolt a little bit too. Just kind of keep the heat from escaping out of the top of the bolt, out of the head of it. This heat's escaping through the hole that is gaping. This bolt is mine for the taking. I don't know if it's hot enough or not. The bolt's getting hot pretty quick. Turning red pretty quick, so I don't know. Alright, let's try it. Try to get this wrench on here. I don't know if it moved or not. Maybe trying to twist off, which, you know, at this point wouldn't be so bad. Maybe I'll just use some penetrating oil on it now. Maybe it'll pull it down in there. Hopefully as it cools, it can draw a little bit down in there around the threads. Put the wrench on it again. See what happens. It's either twisting off or it's coming loose. We don't know. There's a little movement there. About a 1/16 of a turn back and forth. Well, I think it's turning. I think we're going to get it. I think we're successful. back and forth. Just be gentle with it. A little bit more. I think it's gonna come. I think it's gonna come out. Hallelujah. I can't see nothing. I'm just going by feel here. But I think it's going to. Come on. He's going to fight me the whole way. I'm going to have to take a break. My shoulder's getting really tired. I might be able to see if I can use this ratchet, this electric ratchet on there. Hallelujah. Looks like it's loose. Let me grab that off of there. Before we lose it. Drop it down in there. There it is. I got you. I got you, bro. All right, in order to get to these plugs back here, I'm gonna go ahead and unhook them, but I'm gonna go ahead and take this bracket off, get it out of my way. It's part of the deal that holds the water tank in. See if I can get it out of there. So it looks like this bunch of wires here just wraps around to here. So I don't have to unhook all that mess there, but I do have to unhook this plug. I'm gonna try to, it's like you just squeeze it. Come on. what I'm doing wrong. Can't see it, of course. Looks like that's the latch, but man, I don't like messing with that. Oh, great. That's what I was afraid of. I've got 2 wires pulled out now. 2 wires. That thing was just bound to fail. I think I have a picture of it though. See where they go. I'm not exactly sure where they go. That's just great right there. But it wasn't push down, it was pull up. Oh, good grief. Counterintuitive right there. It looks like this one here, it stays hooked up too. It just runs around to the front. But this big one down here, I don't know if you can see that, because I can't see it, but maybe we can get a better angle and guess at it. But that has to be unhooked, but I think I'm going to try to unhook that from underneath the rig and the junction box.
Well, it looks like this big wire here, this is the one that hooks into the back of the RV generator. It runs around this jack. Stay here. And back up through that compartment, and then runs over to where the breaker box is, the power distribution area of the RV. So I don't have enough slack to let this generator down in this with this wire here, so I'm going to have to unhook it from the back of the generator somehow. So I guess I'm going to get around there in front and get my mirror out and take a look. I'm going to try to take a look up in here with the camera just to see what I can see. I see there's some wires there. I don't want to unhook anything that don't have to be unhooked. And I definitely want to get everything back where it was. So I'll take a little bit of, do a little bit of reconnaissance here. Goes a long way at putting stuff back together. Sure would be nice to be able to roll this out and unhook it after I can see everything, but maybe we can do something about that. Try to get a few different angles here. Well, that don't look too bad. We've got those 2 wires down at the bottom that are labeled 1 and 2 that go to that little junction block there. And then that one big fat wire and the other one next to it, they both go to that same pole up here. So don't look too bad. I think I'll be able to unhook those and just unscrew that conduit from the back of the box. At that point, we should be ready to just go ahead and put the forklift under there, unbolt all 4 of the corner bolts, and see if we can drop this thing down. Again, I'm doing this with a mirror, so it's tricky. All right.
Let's see if we can unhook the cable. All right, let's pop those 4 corner bolts out, get the forklift over here, see how we did. Well, I'm glad I looked at my list again and got under here and looked, because I still have to take the wiring loose from the cooling fan. Probably got some type of sealant on it. If it's under here where the rain and stuff can get to it. It's a gasket, looks like. There we go. Yeah. Get some kind of a fancy cover on it. Those are crimped together. I don't know if it matters, I'm not an electrician, but I'm going to mark those 2. Wait a minute, no, one goes the other way. So it's just a white, a black, and a green. Okay. Or the other white one goes the other way. So we just unplug this one from here. That's fine. And then I'll just have to cut this loose and then re-crimp that before I put it back together. Pop this clip off. Go ahead and see if I can loosen this nut. Conduit. Fight me all the way. Just like everything else. Won't let me down. Now, as long as I haven't forgotten something really important, which I probably have, this thing's ready to come out as soon as we take these 4 bolts out of the corners. Man. There we go.
take that all the way out. Not yet, anyway. All right, looks like we're ready to put the forklift under there, take a little pressure off, pop those 4 bolts out, see if we can't drop the generator down. Try to get this centered up as much as possible. Okay, we're definitely hanging on something towards the back there. Oh, it's this hot cable. Well, there it is out on the floor. We can get a good look at it now. All the stuff we got to do. It's pretty dirty, but it's definitely going to make it a whole lot easier to work on having it out. We can fix everything that's wrong with it that we know about. Might even replace the water pump. I don't know, I'm gonna call and see how much one of those is. So anyway, hallelujah, it's out of there. Let's get it cleaned up, get all the work done on it, and get it back in there. All right, we're gonna get this thing up on this roll around table here, where it's a lot easier to work on, up off the ground, because, you know, my poor back. But anyway, you get it up on there. That is the table that I had my new motor on. And yeah, it took a lot to get me to take my new motor off this table, but I do need the table, so we're going to go ahead and fix our generator up on it, and then probably plop the old motor back up on there until we're ready for it. That is going to make this thing a whole lot easier to clean up and work on, so let's get to it.
changed and it never did.
Colors this red must be expensive.
Nope.
I might put a little fertilizer line down in. That's worth things. How's the truck running? What kind of driver are you gonna find out?
We're gonna get this little steam cleaner out over here and see what kind of job that'll do to clean all the grease off this generator, because I don't really want to get it completely wet. I don't want to get this generator unit wet at all. So we're just gonna get in here and just see what the steamer does. We may have to add some cleaner to there, just loosen up the grease and stuff, but maybe not. Let's see how it works. Well, we got the old generator cleaned up really nice, and it's not going to look brand new, but that's okay. It's not brand new, but it does look a lot better. It looks like it's brand used, which is what we're after. But if you get in here and look at it, it turned out pretty good. It's a far cry better than it was before. Looks pretty good. There's no more rat's nests in there. No more pecans off the pecan tree. No walnuts, nothing like that. No animal carcasses. And that's really the main thing I'm after. Now, one thing, if you remember, that I did find on this when I took this electrical panel cover off was there were a couple of wires that were unplugged. There were a couple wires unplugged. From the back of this. These two wires right here. And they were unplugged from these two terminals. They're marked 7 and 8. And I'm glad I took a video of that because 7 goes on the left side and 8 goes in the middle. So I can get those back. But the problem is the wires broke off in those terminals that were in there. So I made me up a little tool out of a TIG rod right here. All I did is put it on a grinder and just grind it down where it's a little bit flat on one side, because there's a couple little wings on the side right there and right there that pop out. You pop those out, then when you slide this in there, it clips in, and that holds it. That's a retainer that holds this terminal from coming out. But you can see there's still part of the wire up inside there. There's still part of the wires up inside there where it broke off. And it's hard to get those things. I'm going to try to get those uncrimped to where I can use this. But I did find these terminals online. Actually a competitor of the company that I work for. The company I work for is called Samtech, and the company that makes these terminals is called TE Connectivity. And I found these on there. They're 25 cents a piece, but you got to buy 10 to a pack. So $2.50, that's not a bad deal. But it's $11 shipping, so you know, it's like $13.50. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I went ahead and ordered them because I'm not sure how long they'll take to get here, and if I ruin these, I'm going to have them so I can hook those wires back up. So I figure in the meantime, while I'm waiting on that, I do have my hoses and stuff that I need, but before I can even run all that stuff, I need to go ahead and build a rollout slide tray for this because I really can't bear the thought of just putting it back in there. I know I'm running a little low on time. See, right now it's the 13th of July, and we've got to be in Michigan on August 5th. So I got to get this back together and get this in there before that. So run a little low on time, but I really just hate to, I'll hate to have to redo all this again in order to do it later, or to have to do all this again to work on this again. I want to go ahead and just get it done. So I went ahead and ordered me some steel. What I've got is some 1.5 by 2.5 1/4-inch wall tubing, some 1.5 by 1.5 1/4-inch wall, and some 3/16 by 2 plate. Now the sides of this tray that the generator sits in, as you saw when I took it out, goes flat against here on both sides. So what they've got here for strengthening, they've got a piece of 3/16 plate welded on top of this 2-inch by 3-inch tube. Now I've got some more 2-inch by 3-inch tube
coming. They didn't have that yesterday, so I had to wait a little bit on that, but there's a lot I can still do. But you can see this 3/16 plate didn't come all the way out to the end, and it didn't go all the way to the back. So that's what I got my 3/16 by 2 plate for. I'm going to cut me a piece to put in here and cut a piece to go back there. Do the same on the other side and weld these joints in and grind them down. That way my roller rail's got something to roll on. And I'm going to take about half of this 1.5 by 2.5 1/4-inch wall, cut this in half, and then we'll stick that in there. And then the other piece of 2-inch by 3-inch tubing that I've got, we'll mock that up again when that comes in. We'll go over this, and that'll weld. That piece that goes in there will slide inside that other piece. About half of it will slide in there, and half of it will slide in the other piece of tube I've got. And then it'll weld into this other tube. And that other tube will be 2 feet long. So it'll hang out here once I pop that in there. And I'll use this same bolt hole to put a pin in on the back side there. We'll have 2 foot of pipe just like this, of tubing just like this, sticking out here. All right? Then we'll take this 1.5 by 1.5 right here, and that'll go right on top of here, just like that. But I'm going to build some rollers, some wheels. There's going to be 4 wheels in there that hang out the bottom of this about 1/2 inch, and that'll roll right off of there. It'll be 2 foot long as well. It'll be about to there, and there'll be a piece of 1/4-inch plate that comes up and welds to this and goes down and will be welded to the tray for the generator. So when you pull the generator, it'll just roll out on these bars. Now those 2 foot bars that are sliding into there and be pinned in place for the generator to roll out on will have to be removed and stored in a storage compartment here somewhere, and just keep them with the RV in case you need to roll it out. And I think that's going to work pretty good. What we're going to do, first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and build my rollers. So I have some 1.25-inch stainless steel rod that I just had laying around, and the inside of this is 1 inch, because these are 1/4-inch wall and it's 1.5 inches. So you take 1/2 inch off, you got 1 inch. So we're going to make those rollers 3/4 of an inch wide with a 1/8 inch boss on the sides, so that it'll just fit in there. And we'll drill a hole through here for a bolt to go through, be threaded on one side, and that way we can just run a bolt through, put some grease on a bolt, run it through there, through the wheel. We'll cut holes in the bottom of these for the bottom of the wheel to stick out of, and put it right through the bolt, right through the hole, right through the wheel, with some grease on it. The wheel's going to roll. So we've got a little bit of fabricating work ahead of us, and which is okay. You know, the blessing is I have all the equipment here to do that kind of stuff with, and it's just time. So we're just going to have to get cracking and see if we can't make this happen. I have to say, out of all the things that I do like just making things from scratch the best. Just coming up with an idea and just making something. That seems to be the most satisfying for me. Not for everybody, but I do enjoy it.
as everybody knows, sometimes plans change a little bit. And I decided not to go with the 1/4 inch bosses on the side, just make these things the whole 1 inch wide, because there's really no need in doing them all fancy. I tend to go a little bit overboard sometimes, and I'm a little bit rushed for time. So I just went ahead and I've got these all parted down as far as my parting tool would reach. I'm gonna go and cut these off on the bandsaw, and then come back over here and put them in and face them off and get them done, chamfer them up, make them look real pretty, and they'll work just fine like that. And then we'll go to work on the tube, get the tube ready to put the wheels in it. Got all 4 of our rollers made, so that's done. Next thing we gotta do is gotta cut the pockets in this here 1.5 by 1.5 square tubing, so that these bolts, or these wheels, can pop up in there. Now let's go ahead and test out our work. Got our holes all tapped for our axle bolts. All right. Let's ease up out of here. There's a little bit of operating room. Let's see here. They bow the holes a little bit, looks like, on the inside. But we're getting the idea how it's going to go. That was screwed all the way in. Okay, pretty successful. So I got these done, and we're just going to test them out on the floor here. Say that's pretty good. Now that we got the roller bars done, we need to go ahead and cut the rest of the tubing so we can finish fabbing up the whole apparatus. Get that all welded in, set the generator back on there, test it out. Now that I've got the tubing cut, what I want to do now is I want to add a place to weld the two pieces together to. And I don't really want to weld around this end. So when I slide the 1.5 by 2.5 in here, I don't want to weld around here, because what that'll do is that'll prevent this end from matching up flush with the other one. I want that to slide up and be right up against it. So what I want to do is I'm going to bore a hole here all the way through both of these, and then when I slide my tubing in there to the depth that I want, then I'll go in here with the MIG welder and I'll weld through that hole and just fill it up and then grind it off flat. Really nice. Now I'm going to repeat that process and make the pin for the other side. I'm not going to record any of that. You've done seen it, been there, done that. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and we're moving right along. Let's see if we're as good as we think we are. Hot dog. Well, I think that's a good stopping point for today, having both of those pinned, that part ready to go. I had to order me an extension cord for my MIG welder so I could get it over here closer and weld those small plates on those 4 places there. And that hasn't come in yet, so it's hotter than blue blazes out here anyway. So I'm just gonna go ahead and quit for today, come back tomorrow.